Hey man, did you hear? Everyone's talking about the aliens, man. But what they're not doing is talking about the connection between the disclosure movement and the mask and the vax and the vid. As far as I know, I'm the only place I've heard anyone make that connection. But now that we know disclosure is real, 100%, and that really is going down, it adds credence and validity to my theory that the COVID and the mask were all part of a psychological operation to condition us for the disclosure of these UFOs and aliens. That, according to Tucker Carlson, the guy he had on, do hundreds of nautical miles an hour under the water, which means we're not top dog here, and probably never were. We were just allowed to believe that we were top dog for a little while. And then, at childhood's end, which is the end of that period where you don't have to worry about the larger world out there paying the bills, go to work and all that stuff. You just grow up, you just be a kid. Well, that period comes to an end, which is where we are now, collectively, at childhood's end. And being introduced to the larger world, the world at large. So I haven't heard anyone make a connection between disclosure and the mask, vax, vid movement, but I've been saying this the whole time, that whole thing is a collective initiation. An initiation ritual, just like into any other group, right now, collectively, we are being initiated into the world at large, into the larger group that we are now going to be a part of. And any initiation ritual has that part where they break you down before they build you back up. And that's what the lyrics in the song, Whatever It Takes by Imagine Dragons, is singing about. Break me down, build me back up, do whatever it takes. And I had this conversation in the Flying J with a guy Saturday, I believe. But things are moving so fast now, it's moving right along. So this collective initiation we're being put through, just like any other group, the military, a fraternity or sorority, a secret society or a street gang, they all have an initiation ritual where they beat you down and break you down upon entry. In the military, it's boot camp. In a gang, you get beat in, or if you're a man, or sexed in if you're a woman. And in a fraternity or a sorority, they call it hazing the new pledges, where they put them through hell week. And just like in the gang where the woman gets sexed in, it's to break you down mentally and emotionally and somewhat physically. But the only reason for breaking you down physically is to be able to break you down mentally and emotionally, and then build you back up as a member of this group that you're now a part of. In this case, in this context of humanity going through the initiation, the collective initiation, the group we are now part of is the world at large, and we're being released from the understanding that we're on a spinning ball in the middle of nowhere and that there's no one else as far as the eye can see. Making the connection between the COVID and the mask and the vax and the disclosure movement is something I've been doing for a while and I still haven't heard anyone else do. But now that we know 100% the disclosure movement is on full throttle, the Director of National Intelligence and whatever other departments are due to deliver this report to the Congressional Intelligence Committee. June 1st is what Marfugal News was saying. Mr. MB3 did a video on it today, and he said sometime in June, so sometime in the next 4 or 5 weeks, he says. For some reason, I remember hearing that it's due June 1st. Either way, it's moving along far quicker than any of us could have imagined, and like I received my understanding before, no matter how long it is, because a lot of people are like, let's just do this already. No matter how long it is until that final transition, it'll feel like it was too short. You'll wish you had just a little bit longer to enjoy this world that you've come to know and become so familiar with that you think it's your world, that those are our oceans, You were an alien when you first came into this world. You're like, whoa, what are these things? What are these? I'm doing that. I make it open and close. Whoa! You lost that feeling. You can remember that feeling again and know that this isn't really your home. And it helps. It goes a long way during a transition like this. And in James True's stream the other day, where he talked about being able to run up this 5-mile mountain and how well he does. Every time he tries it, he has to stop at certain points and walk and catch his breath. And then if someone was chasing him with a Jason mask and an axe, he'd run up that 5-mile mountain no time flat. But it wouldn't work if he agreed to it, or if he knew that that was just a guy in a Jason mask with a rubber axe. Bill Gates gave you the answer when he had that book sitting right next to him that said, How to Lie with Statistics. We're demonizing these people with the occult knowledge while we're trying to become one of them. Occult just means hidden information or unknown. And all of the mystery schools, the Melchizedek Order, the Order of the Rosicrucians, the Freemasonic Orders, the Order of the Emerald Tablets, all these different mystery schools point to now as this transition period between the old and what is to come. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Those muse messages were put into the music probably to help us recognize that this is how it was the whole time. This is nothing new. In fact, remember the movie Grease? Freeze frame, freeze frame, freeze frame, freeze frame! That might be when these geothermal releases happen and calcify everything around. Like Lot's wife that got turned to a pillar of salt. I heard it posited recently that churches and other buildings are built on these geothermal engines that produce this heat, probably in order to heat the water and air and other stuff. And they are what got hit with the majority of this calcite that comes out of these geothermal plumes. And when it does, it creates what we know as fossils. It's just a theory, But if that's true, that might be why Freeze Frame was such a big hit. God convinced the world that she didn't exist in order that she could see what you would do while you thought no one was looking. And the karma chameleons, they come and go, they come and go. On The Simpsons, the alien portrayed in The Simpsons is an octopus, which is true in real life. They say that the octopus has no mitochondrial DNA here on this planet. In other words, it's like a genetic strand that was just dropped in from somewhere else. On The Simpsons, when Homer Simpson hits a home run, the baseball hits the dome, cracks it open, water comes pouring through along with fish. So if we were to believe that there's waters above and waters below, that would make us in something like a petri dish in between. The petri dish, the outer edges of the petri dish are the ice wall, and the lid that goes over the petri dish is the firmament. And everything surrounding the petri dish, water's above, water's below. And that might be why Jesus is associated with a fish. No one seems to have been able to answer that for me yet. They're like, oh, because he fed all these people with fishes and loaves. Maybe. But we're being let off of that Jim Jones Island prison where we got indoctrinated into a cult and told that anyone outside of this island is the enemy. So anyone that comes to this island and tells you, hey, you've been indoctrinated into a cult, we're here to free you, they're the enemy. Like with any good cult, that's how the conditioning goes. And that's how we've all been conditioned, because the truther community and the religious community alike, they all agree the reptilians are evil. And all of the religious people, they say there are no extraterrestrials. They're interdimensionals, or they're demonic entities mixed with a little bit of flesh and bone, but there are no extraterrestrials. So anything that you see is a shape-shifting, demonic, wicked, satanic, evil, Luciferian, fallen angel from the bottomless pit. And those people are probably going to be dealt with differently than people who don't act like that. So, we've been put on a Jim Jones Island prison and indoctrinated with a type of xenophobia, fear of the outsiders, that it's time to break that programming, and this is looking like phase 2 of that ambassadorship that I spoke of, where I said phase 2 would be easier than phase 1, where I was trying to introduce you to beings that you couldn't even see, and in that aspect, phase 2 will be easier. And it parallels real well with the movie or the series, which I have not seen and I probably won't watch, because it parallels my own life so much that I don't want to mix up what I saw in the movie and what's actually in my own life, or for other people to think that I'm conflating the two. I've only seen clips from the series called Childhood's End, where they float around our skies for a couple of years, and then on the appointed day when they're going to introduce themselves, because the one guy who they've been communicating with says, you need to just show yourselves. Everyone's speculating about what you look like, and they want to just see you. They say just stop floating around in your craft and show yourself. That's what the people want. And he is the interim between. And he's just Joe Blow, all-American regular truck driver type. And when I was having a conversation in the Flying J with this black guy, strikes up a conversation next to me. It looked like he was in his early 50s wearing a mask. And he says, oh, I see I'm not the only one doing that. And I looked at him and I looked down, and he's kind of like pointing at my coffee lid sitting on a napkin right there on the counter. I was like, huh? Yeah, the coffee lid on the napkin. I said, oh yeah, it works. Didn't know why the hell I just like, okay, yeah, it works, man. Second later, he's like tippy-toeing into a conversation. He said, well, let me ask you something, man, and I don't mean to be, and I ain't trying to, and I said, I already know what you're gonna ask, man, go ahead. And he says, how come you're worried about the germs on the counter and you put your napkin under your lid, but you're not worried about the coronavirus? I said, well, because I done learned a few things about that. What, about the counter? I said, no, about the coronavirus. Oh yeah, what's that? And out of nowhere, I just said, well, there was this song back in the 80s by Aerosmith. And it said, something wrong with the world today. And then later on it says, Chicken Little told you that the sky is falling. Even if it wasn't, would you still come crawling back again? I'll bet you would, my friend. Again, I did this while I'm singing this song to him in the Flying J while he's getting his coffee next to me. Again and again and again. He's like, so you trying to say that maybe they was trying to... I say, I just think it's got some application to our situation today. He's like, oh, all right. And from that point forward, each time I would say something, he would kind of like confirm his something that mashed and try and entice me to go further. Like, what else you got? What else you got? Yeah, okay, yeah, that too, and what else? From that point, he said something like, I don't think it was just a scam on the American people. And I said, no, it's worldwide. Side note, aside from my conversation that I'm explaining, yeah, it's worldwide. Whoever flexed their power and authority did so worldwide. In a form of soft power, not a hammer, not hard down, not dropping the hammer on us, just letting us know we could. In a lot of ways. Like I said, Trump loaded the New World Order machine with blanks, ran us through it so we would know exactly what we were in for. And that's the soft power worldwide flexing of the muscle that has been done by this elusive hand of power, man behind the curtain that no one really knows who it is. I said something to that effect to this guy. So he's like, I don't think it was just a scam on America. I said, no, it's worldwide. And at some point he says, well, you know what, I think Trump and Biden was both in on it. And I was just like, oh yeah, he's making sure I'm not like one of those trumpets or whatever, still in the left-right paradigm. But at some point he says something about, maybe it was race specific, maybe it was genetically specific. That was, we worked our way through this conversation in about 3 minutes, and I ended up giving him everything except for the plasma fires. We'll get to that by the end of this video, and a music video called In This World by Moby, where they try and make a sign to get the attention of the humans, and the humans don't notice. They're too busy doing their thing, so they got to go home and make a bigger sign. But as I'm sitting there talking with this guy, he's like, we're escalating the conversation from one conspiracy to the next. And when he left, he thought, damn, that guy's either part of some secret society, or he went back to his bros and gave him that revelation about how this is a collective initiation, or he said, damn, them crackers are crazy, man. Either way, I kind of wish I would have given him a link to my video and say, oh, by the way, you want to see all the trees burning from the inside out? Check it out, but I forgot. So he says, yeah, I think it was Biden and Trump was both in on it. Because, at first he started, something I says, it's like behavioral. He said, have you noticed last couple weeks, recently, like everything's all fine again? I said, what do you mean? Like the last couple weeks, people aren't wearing their mask or something? He's like, yeah. I said, yeah, I think people have figured out there's something more than meets the eye going on here. He's like, what you think it is? From that point, we kind of escalated, and I don't remember exactly how the conversation went. But I said something to the effect of behavior modification. Like you said, they lifted the mandates. So, wherever the people culturally conform and carry on with it themselves, they perpetuate it into the future, and it's culturally ingrained as one of the norms, and other pockets of culture threw it out the window, like it's some sort of behavior modification program going on. He's like, yeah, all right. But I think maybe Biden and Trump was both in on it. I said, yeah, they was. And at some point he said something about it's after I talked about the newcomers. I said, all right, dude, I think it's part of a larger disclosure project. Remember, this is Saturday. Things are moving so quick. Today is Tuesday, and everybody talking about disclosure. I said, dude, I think this is part of some disclosure, like a larger project of disclosure of the extraterrestrial presence. And this whole thing was to condition us prior to that revelation in order that we might not just follow herd mentality, groupthink, and abandon our own conscience kind of thing, something to that effect. And so once I had mentioned the newcomers, that there's a extraterrestrial presence, I told him, watch Tucker Carlson. I told him it was on TV like 2 nights ago. Tucker Carlson, underwater UFOs, they show the video, say they do like 200 miles an hour, hundreds, they don't say how many, hundreds of knots per hour underwater. So that means they have broken our laws of physics and we ain't the top dog here no more. This is what I slipped into that guy within that 3 to 5 minutes. And then he's like, yeah, but you know what? I think maybe the disease was like genetically specific, so it would take out some people that are not compatible with the newcomers. And I told him 2 things. I told him, yeah, there was a TV series called Childhood's End that had exactly that scenario built into the plot. And back in the 80s, there was a TV series, a series called Alien Nation, where the newcomers, the very word he used, and that's why I brought it up, had these little brown spots on their head. They were bald, but they had these little brown spots on their head, and they had slightly bigger heads than us. And I told them they were called newcomers. in that TV series, and that's the word you just used. Kind of like that, better than aliens, but in another way, people try and soften it. Instead of just saying, yes, this is ET disclosure, they like to use euphemisms, like UFO or UAP or whatever other word they can use to tap dance around the truth. That this is it. So, as a truther, a good service you could provide to your friends and family right about now is bringing the topic up for conversation. Because even though they're talking about it on mainstream news, people are still uncomfortable talking about it in public. That's why they already disclosed a couple months ago that they've got these down to craft that they have developed technology from that will change our whole world. And it fell on deaf ears. Everyone's like, I gotta go to work, I didn't hear that. And a couple months before that, Israeli Space Force Defense Minister came out and said, yes, there's a Galactic Federation, Trump knows about them, we've been interacting with them for years, and they have deals with us made to do experiments here. Like I said, that was about during the Eisenhower administration, supposedly, that we made those deals. And apparently there was another part of the deal that included disclosure. And a lot of people didn't keep up with that end of the deal. Oh, that's what this guy in the gas station said. He said about the COVID, he's like, I think Trump and Biden was both in on it, but neither of them could say anything because it would implicate both of them. I said, yeah, something to that effect. Whoever was supposed to engage in disclosure over the last 50 years and failed to do so wants to retain their power and authority now. And disclosure will remove their power and authority. Therefore, in those latter days, the devil will go about making great mayhem because he knows his time is short. Remember, you live in a world where truther is a pejorative. The only unsafe place for a pedophile is in prison. Take 5 minutes to soak that in. And don't be surprised if God's army has guys with truth drop tattoos. You know I meant teardrop tattoo, but that's a good way to segue here to truth drops. There's a channel called Truth Drops that mirrored Vanessa VA's first plasma fire video that she did that featured some of the content from this channel. I suspect that channel called Truth Drops is Matt from Quantum of Conscience. And I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, about how I think that's Matt and why he's not presenting this truth on his channel, his larger channel, while at the same time telling his audience, you know, these truthers out here that won't look at the dark reality that we look at, probably not good people to take advice from. All these hippy-dippy, airy-fairy, new-agey, love and light gurus that can't look at the dark reality we look at probably aren't taking the whole picture into account, so their advice is probably insufficient, incomplete, inadequate. The same would apply to someone who knows about the plasma fires but doesn't present them. And on that note, I gotta light up Daniel, because I know he would appreciate it. Part of him, the larger part of him, will appreciate it. The part of him when I said me and Daniel and Tiger Doug are all high-fiving, our higher selves are high-fiving, while down here we're doing this WWF style wrestling match. So any bones of contention that may arise during the process are petty in comparison to the larger accomplishment that's happening here, the fulfillment of those soul contracts that we came here to fulfill. Like in the story that I referenced called Little Soul in the Sun. Well, Daniel Alexander Cannon of Logic Before Authority, I've mentioned it before, I'm sure most of you are familiar with him. emptied his bank account in this economic boom that we're going through, where all wealth is knowledge and all economic growth is learning. Daniel had a wealth of knowledge accumulated in his bank account of videos on his YouTube channel, and he deleted them. I use those links to his videos as explanatory content that pairs perfectly with my evidence of plasma fire that I present. I show the evidence. He created a lot of videos giving you the explanatory understanding, including Tesla technology, who can place the power of the sun anywhere on the face of the earth at any time. To that extent, I lead you to the link in the description titled 18 Laser Strikes Strike the Spanish Fork Bridge in Utah. That was my first plasma fire ever, where my stepbrother, who lived up the canyon from the fire, was surrounded by smoke other than blue sky straight above, which drew his attention upward. And when he looked, in that blue sky was a flashing star during midday, while that fire in Spanish Fork Canyon was happening, and that bridge that got hit by laser strikes endured the damage that happened to it. In this info war, I thought I had a partner. And then he emptied his bank account. I don't know what your reasonings are, but I'm sure they're fear-based. And when it comes to your priorities, which is more important? Whatever the consequences are here and now that may cause you to think I should erase all those videos? Or the larger consequence of what happens when you have to look back and justify having erased all those videos? So I was disappointed, Daniel. You revealed the TR-3B above the Cathedral of Notre Dame from the Westin Hotel across the street's camera, where you can go back and forth throughout the day on the time. As he was scrolling back and forth, he noticed a little black dot up here, and he's like, wait a minute, it's right there. What the hell is that black dot? That's one of these TR-3B craft or something else, now that we know we're not the only dog in town. That was part of the information that contributes to this economic boom that we're going through of learning. That was a piece of wealth that could have contributed to this process. He had a lot of other contributions he made too that I hope he still has, that he didn't just literally erase them. You see, other people have the excuse, YouTube erased my channel. A Plain Truth 9 or 10, I think he's on to now. That guy just keeps coming back. You can't keep a good dog down. Somehow, unlike myself, he was smart enough to back up his content offline. When they erased my channel and my video of the sun tunnel, I didn't have another copy of it. But it's probably a good thing, because that video violates not only national security, international security. It was a little bit ahead of its time. So no matter where else I tried to upload that video, YouTube, Facebook, it don't matter. They ain't gonna let it fly. Because this disclosure process is being governed and regulated, and that would have broken the speed limit that I've referred to as MBB 333. That's what the speed limit sign reads on Disclosure Road. Because that guy shows you a lot more than he actually draws your attention to with his words. I've pointed this out many times. That guy's part of the Disclosure Project that we're going through. And so was COVID, part of the Disclosure Project that we're going through. Free your mind, open up to the truth of what's going on here, Let go of your heart, let go of your head, and feel it now. Ride the spiral to the end. It may just go where no one's been. Spiral out, keep going. 'Cause fear or love are the only two ways to approach this, and the only way to be in love is to not be in fear. And the only way to not be in fear to the extent that I am at this point is to have developed a relationship through the Spirit. Before I get into that, E.T., the movie E.T. by Kubrick, Spielberg, showed us exactly what these ETs look like. On Gaia TV with George Norrie, it's a paid subscription, you can see multiple skeletons, full bodies on the X-ray of these beings that look exactly like what was portrayed on the movie E.T. 3 spindly fingers, 3 spindly toes, long skinny forearm and shin bone, where a human has 2 bones, the tibia and the fibula on the leg, and the radius and the ulna on the arm. These beings only have 1 bone. They have ribs that go from top to bottom on their spine. Humans only have 9 ribs. Their ribs go from end to end like a snake. And the eggs they hold in their belly, 3 large eggs, that's it, like a snake. Jesus was associated with a fish that has scales, I will remind you. So they have been, from E.T., trying to condition us for the last 30 years. The song, link is in the description, Renegades. Spielbergs and Kubricks. It's our time to break the rules. Let's begin. Because some forces on our planet are not going to allow peaceful assimilation. The music video Schism by Tool, link is in the description. You should watch it. It is telling you something about this moment and what we're going through. The schism was between 2 races. Cold silence has a tendency to atrophy any sense of compassion. And there are forces that be on this planet that will try to inflame your ability to lose all compassion. Anything you deem evil gives you license to withdraw your compassion from. And those forces on this planet will tell you they're the good guys. While prison is the only unsafe place for a pedophile. They imprison those that take truth and the law into their own hands and would do such a thing. You live in a society where prison is the only unsafe place for a pedophile. Those are the people that are going to inflame your rage. And to think for yourself is going to be something a lot more people are capable of doing after the COVID mask vax. It freed you from groupthink. They chased you up that hill with a Jason mask.